Well, we're back to doing a good old-fashioned Keemstar rant. If you guys remember back when I made my What Happened to Commentaries video, a big part of that video was about Keemstar, because Keemstar and the Drama Alert machine have been so incredibly influential in the commentary genre, because let's face it, everyone wants to watch the world burn. So y'all know H3H3, a man who I reserve my opinions on, both positive and negative, and while I'm not a huge fan of Ethan's content, I at least hold a lot of respect for him as a content creator on this platform, even if a lot of the content he makes now is pretty lackluster in my opinion. But that's neither here nor there. This isn't a video on Ethan's channel as a whole, just sort of a review on one of his latest videos that has caused quite a shitstorm here on YouTube, and that is the video titled Content Nuke Keemstar. Now, if there's one thing I will say about this video, it does remind me a lot of Ethan's old content. To be honest, this is a pretty solid return to form for the first time in a long time. But one thing about this video is that it just seems so pointless. Like, isn't this video a little late? He references a lot of old beefs that Keemstar had years ago that have been covered to death by a lot of other channels who have also made pretty good videos on Keemstar. So to start the actual review, as a bit of an aside, Ethan spends a pretty good portion of the video talking about Keem doxing people and getting them swatted, which I think is pretty hilarious because I very fondly remember watching a clip of Keem getting triggered over Wings of Redemption finding out all his info, and I just thought it was a funny bit of irony.
H3H3.
Okay, can I ask you why you're trying to get my personal information?
I'm just trying to see how much of this is correct because I gave some of this information to Fisticuffs.
You gave my personal information to Fisticuffs?
So later on in the video, Ethan references how Keem mocked Bashurverse during his suicidal rant on Twitter.
He went on Drama Alert and mocked the tweets of a suicidal YouTuber.
Today's story is about Basher. He had a breakdown on Twitter, and quite frankly, he's suicidal. This is what he said on Twitter. I almost killed myself today on the way home. I'm not sure why I can't ever just go through with it. Constant highs, lows. I can't take this anymore.
Which, to be fair, is pretty terrible of Keem to do. But again, isn't this like 4 years too late? Has anyone even thought about Bashurverse since then? I only say this to emphasize the fact that much of the content here that Ethan presents as a transgression against Keem is old news. This is stuff that I remember being big news back when I first started making commentaries 4 years ago. Why the hell is he bringing this up now? Again, it's all pointless. The next part of this video is honestly what kind of ruined it for me, and that is Ethan's segment talking about Etika. Now, before I talk about this, I just want to state that I believe that Keemstar is a total dick. His opinions on mental health are pretty revolting, and as someone who actually has personal experience with mental health issues, it is a pretty hard slap to the face whenever someone thinks that your issues aren't valid. In this regard, Keem is absolutely in the wrong. However, Ethan didn't need to bring up Etika and use his suffering as a tool to slight Keemstar. At around the 31-minute mark, Ethan plays a series of clips juxtaposed in such a way that almost insinuates that Keemstar is somehow to blame for Etika's death. I'll play the clip here so y'all know what I'm talking about.
People don't understand and they don't ask me questions.
Etika has lost his mind like the third time.
They just point the finger and say, you're to blame.
Possible not to laugh at that.
And there's so much more that happened privately that
Just jump off a cliff. If it's just a simulation, who cares?
just you guys don't understand.
I think it's really disgusting to pin the blame solely on Keemstar for Etika's mental health issues and his eventual tragic suicide. If you're gonna blame Keemstar for Etika's poor mental health, which I'm not denying that Keemstar acted horribly in this situation, then you have to blame the community as a whole. Everyone in the community really didn't take Etika all that seriously. This was a man suffering from very real issues like bipolar disorder, and the community didn't realize that what they were doing was potentially harmful until it was too late. Insinuating that Keemstar was to blame makes absolutely no sense because there are so many other people in the community who just didn't take Etika's situation seriously until it was too late. I wouldn't care this much if it was just a 2 or 3 minute segment of Ethan's video, but the segment where he talks about Etika is about 13 minutes long. He spent over a fourth of this video on Etika's mental health and somehow found a way to make Keemstar seem responsible when it wasn't just one person. It was a whole community of people who exacerbated Etika's mental health issues. This bit could have just been about how Keemstar has a shitty view of mental health and what being depressed or ridden with anxiety actually means, but instead he has to bring up Etika and use him as a way of showing that Keemstar's comments are harmful, insinuating that he alone made his problems worse. Continuing on, he talks about Keemstar accusing Ethan of being a fraud. I didn't really mind this section. I thought it was pretty funny in a nice tongue-in-cheek way. Definitely reminds me of a lot of the old H3H3 videos that carried much of the same tone. The rest of this video though pretty much talks about how Keem keeps trying to bait Ethan for the purposes of his show. I felt kind of indifferent towards this bit, if I'm being completely honest. Not to tell Ethan how to make his videos, but I feel like he should have made this part the focal point of the video instead of talking about Etika for 13 minutes, because this stuff actually has something to do with Ethan and gives Ethan a genuine reason in making this video. So in conclusion, Ethan's video on Keemstar wasn't bad, but it made absolutely no sense as to why he made the video now. Ethan could have made this video 2 years ago, and much of the same points could have been made because a lot of the stuff Ethan talks about is stuff that plenty of other commentators have made videos on that were just as good and didn't rely on using someone's unfortunate mental health state to make their point. There were a lot of things to hate Keemstar for, and I agree with pretty much all of Ethan's points, but it absolutely could have had more thought put into it as to how it was made, and he could have just included stuff that's more recent, because trust me, Keemstar leaves absolutely no shortage of that. Anyway guys, I'll leave it at that. If you guys enjoyed the video, drop a like on it, dislike if you didn't, subscribe for more content, and I'll catch you all next time.